Let's discuss a controversial subject. Before beginning, let's state that these aren't black street gangs. Printing companies making fine press, such as a so-called rag, remember. The Israeli Defense Forces, their para-recon units specializing in hunting these criminals that claim them, or even a new invention through their present tool, the Gutenberg Press, in the French or Chinese schools and universities. No, this is an ancient word, slurred in Hebrew as the Mossad. In Hebrew it means institute, by their claim. It actually means muggish. They're people forced into poverty for succeeding, however, having offended somebody by working or playing or going to school or being with a woman or man or refusing a liaison by being over capacity. Therefore, they'll describe you as any term they really please. Their tools are the printing press, thieving rings, tenement squats, misfiled paperwork, pestilences, plagues, food combinations and rotting filth, forced medical procedures, forged licenses, and generally the type of depression and painfulness and hopelessness that causes you to seek them to join in the first place, of course called by them. In America, we call them the United Nations, the League of Nations, the Mossad, yes, your extracurricular clubs, corporate investitures, multinationals, even switching of terms, taking advantage of linguistics, such as liberalism with a capital L, a form of analysis, versus liberalism with a lowercase l, a form of philosophy of militant reform, sometimes confused with conservatism with a lowercase c, a regressive state where there is pacifism and small morals enforced so you can do as you wish in the community at whatever your leisure is, or the capital C conservative, a British party devoted to managing medical services for the island, as opposed to their party socialism in Britain, which is police funding and police rhetoric as a emphasis in Parliament for drawing funding on behalf of the Queen, or someday to be the King. But all the United Nations does is it operates press endeavors such as Lenovo computers, hidden monitoring technique, or they run Apple hacks, Geek Squad, even the entire pornography industry, unless amateur, therefore targeted in false journals or letter rights by plying on their own parents of role and assignment. You see, whatever your father does for a living, be you a son or daughter, that's your specialty in confidence grifting in this group. They have wandered since before the Ice Age with the first orphans gathering together to survive. Hence the legends of all the comic book characters you've ever read. Not the ones that are portrayed in film. They can't get into film as British, or police services. They can't get into police services as Shiite. British film is based on a set of proof offered to you, therefore rescinding your logic of operation if you apply it as fact. It's a poison to poverty, and among the rich, just the tax burden of the poor, the insurance industry, the interconnected network of clergy. Moving over to the police industry, this is property law. If you rent an apartment, own a home, Even if you own an entire farmland tract like Warren Buffett, you're still beholden to pay property tax. To the poor, this is Broadway and Glee. There is a false split of term that if you use it as a point of logic, it denounces, divides, and removes your allies until you're isolated and they recover. And among the rich, this is their tax paid to the poor to maintain the common exchange to protect against famine. Therefore, there is no class system. That way we all survive eating. And in the center of this, we have the concept of the human soul. A soul being what makes you sapient, hence you can contribute to the other humans. So we find these orphans gangs attempting to create more orphans. Sometimes slurred as the mob, thieving guilds, hashashim, slave fortresses, freedoms movements, more often slave hunters or mercenaries. Those are all very real things, but they prefer to take a simple set of fiction or a brand or a leader or a food item and mark themselves. By myth, it's the envy of the father. They'll attack you for having one. By actuality, it's the continuation of a propagation of culture of a figure called Belphegor. Belphegor doesn't believe in true love, rightly so. However, he believes to test it, incorrect. You see, there is no true pure love. That comes with marriage and children, in a state of having seen the infant at birth, and then later repeated and repeated, resembling combination of genetic material. Given the odds of meeting so many people over the course of your life based on your preferences and needs, you may never mate, or maybe you will. And if someone thieves a child, or if absconds with a child, there is no family unit or wedlock within court. It would be simply preposterous. It would be the offal of the poor. OFFAL, an important concept in all religion, being somebody who places you in an incarcerated position attempting to help, even earnestly. That's a future Mossad recruit, not an idea for CIA or something like that. And the CIA is insurance and, of course, military, naval, and federal department support. MI6 deals in calling lines as murder for hire and other services that may be beholden to creating Mossad for others instead of the self. That means instead of you joining because your father's dead, you're pushing other people into the Mossad to manipulate them for exploited labor. And the Israeli Defense Forces, of course, directly hunt them at physical live barrel. That's a gun barrel. But most noteworthy, you can note the simple tool of hypocrisy in the Mossad. It's hypocrisy that runs it. They'll expect a charge to apply to you without applying to them, having induced it by offering it to you. All you have to do is speak earnestly in public. Nobody on the planet will believe them, and they'll retreat. Even a friend of the Mossad, using them for petty labor, like the UN does, farming out slaves. Anything you can get for free. Never cheat your father on his job, then you'll never have to join. No little miniature schnauzer to stomp the back on a second time.